The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. Golenbock University. I'm Ralph Tycho with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. And joining us is Jerry Feitelberg to talk to the host, the man himself, Professor Golenbock. How are you, gentlemen? Start with you, Jerry. Welcome back.
I'm doing fine. Well, thank you, Ralph. I'm doing fine.
Good.
Nursing a little cold and cough I picked up the other night, but feeling pretty good for the most part.
Good. You mentioned off air that codeine works.
Yeah, well, codeine blocks the cough receptor in the brain, but it only works for 3 or 4 hours. Then you have to have some cough syrup with codeine in it to keep it from coming up.
May I recommend?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to the pharmacist of the year in California in 1995.
Yep.
So, Jerry, thank you for the drug advice.
Thank you, sir.
I was going to recommend that he take NyQuil instead of codeine, for crying out loud.
Well, NyQuil, for sleeping. I don't have any problem sleeping, so it's not a.
Yeah, but while you're sleeping, it keeps your cold problems under control.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It works real well. They've got several drugs in there, antihistamines, decongestants, and keeps you out.
Amazing.
It's good stuff. I sold a ton of it over the years.
I have no doubt.
I have no doubt either. He had a great store right here in Alameda, and was what I call a classy businessman, chosen by the trainer of the A's to work for the A's as the A's pharmacist in the 90s.
Isn't that
Yeah, worked with the doctors. Yeah, worked with the doctors, and I had in the 90s. Barry Weinberg came into my store one day and said, "How's it like to work with the A's?" And I said, "How soon and what do I have to do?" And he gave me a list. He sent me a list of about 60 or 65 drugs that the team has in their kit, and I sent him the prices for it. And I didn't hear from. That was in 1991. I didn't hear until 93, and they said about a month before the season started, they said, "We'd like you to come on board." And I have to tell you, the first time that I went over to the Coliseum, and then I went down to the A's clubhouse, I was like a kid in a candy store.
Sure.
I just thought I just was thrilled. And
who were some of your stars?
Oh, we had Ricky Henderson. We had
sure.
Dave Stewart was with Toronto at that time, but we had Mark McGuire.
Wow.
Jason Giambi came up a couple years later. Geronimo Baroa, Matt Stairs, Terry Steinbach.
That's a great team.
Yeah, Mike Bordick was the shortstop.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mike Gallego was with the club. I'm not sure. I don't remember Tony Phillips. He may have been with the club, may not have been.
So why do these guys need so many pills?
Well, believe it or not, baseball players have allergies too, and you don't want a guy out in center field sneezing from a grass allergy, so they have to use the. Yeah, one time during Interleague, the team went to Denver. They were playing the Rockies in Interleague, and someone on the plane had a cold. And I got back, and they called in about 25 prescriptions for the players and their families. They all got colds on the flight.
Sure.
But they had players were covered in California. At least the players were covered if they got injured on the job. They were covered by workers' comp, and that was a different set of billings. And then if they had drugs for their own personal needs, a lot of times people had dental work. They had a root canal. They had to have a pain reliever for that. And, and the club had, as I said, about 60 or 65 meds that they took with them on the field. They had it in the Coliseum, and then when they went on the road, they took it in their kit on the road. And every now and then we'd have a visiting player. Frank Robinson came in one time, and I think he had an earache. We got some ear medicine for him. Traveling secretary for the Seattle Mariners had a migraine, so I'd bring over some migraine medication for him. I told Ralph this story about Al Clark. Al Clark had an infection, and he wanted to use his prescription card that he had, and he wouldn't give me the card, and I had a big fight with him.
Why?
But right, and I won the argument.
Oh,
I won the argument. He gave me the card. Yeah, and I gave it back. I gave it back to him. I actually had to go to the umpire's room and argue with him to get the card. But
Al Clark's been a terrific guest on the show. On these airwaves. Former Major League umpire. Really thought that the AL on the caps back in those days when there were separate leagues for umpires, he thought it was Al. He thought they were giving him a cap.
I like that. What a character.
All right, let's talk about both you guys really rooted for the Red Sox. Jerry, you were a fan. I think, if I'm not mistaken, 1946 was your first year of fandom. And Peter wrote a book on the Red Sox. So why don't I let you guys chat, and I'll learn from you, and shut up. That'll be great.
Well, all I can tell you, Ralph and Peter, that for me, and Ralph said it correctly, I was 6 or 7 years old in 1946, and all I remember is that the Red Sox lost to the Cardinals in 7 games, and we were heartbroken. And of course, in those days, my dad worked in a newspaper, and the papers used to publish hourly because they didn't have any TV, and they would publish. They'd have updates on the scores every hour.
What paper did he work for?
He worked for the Boston Herald Traveler.
Oh, wow.
He was with the Traveler. Mostly it was an afternoon paper.
So you were living in Boston?
Yeah, I grew up in Boston. I was born in Boston.
Oh,
grew up in Boston.
You didn't make that clear. Okay. That makes perfect sense.
I grew up there. Yeah, and I've been a Red Sox fan. I was also, actually, my first game was not with the Red Sox. It was with the Boston Braves. And I remember distinctly we saw the St. Louis Cardinals and got to see Red Shane and Stan Musial. And that was I think 1947. I think it was the first game I went to with my dad.
Wow.
So it just shows you that while I sound like I'm 27 years old, next Friday, Ralph has a birthday next week, Peter. On Thursday, he has his birthday on November 8th, and I have my birthday on November 9th.
That's
and
not great.
I'm going to be 80 years old.
Isn't that something? I never thought that would happen.
Hey, you are the perfect example, Jerry, of 80 years young.
Thank you.
You hear that all your life?
Yeah.
You are the quintessential 80 years young. You got it all. You got seichel, you're articulate, and you have your memories.
And I got a beautiful girlfriend. What more can you ask for?
Yes, you're living the good life, and well-deserved. You just got back from Hawaii.
Yeah, my kids took me there for my birthday. My late wife passed away 10 years ago in June of 2008. And I met this very lovely. I was very, very miserable very lonely when my wife passed away. I've been married 41 years.
Yeah.
And then I met this lovely lady, Isla, about 6 months after my wife died. And we just celebrated our 10th anniversary together, 10 years together.
Isn't that wonderful?
So, and she's smart, she's doll, and she's got a good head on her shoulders.
You make each other happy, which is pretty much what it's about in life with relationships. And really nice. Get back to the Red Sox before I tear up.
Yeah. Well, the Red Sox, as I said, I've been a fan for many, many years, and I never thought the Red Sox would win the World Series. until 2004. All those years of suffering, all those years of having the Yankees eat the Red Sox lunch. It was just suffering. My brother used to say to me, why do you root for the Red Sox? They'll break your heart. And they did every time. They did. As a kid in 1948, I was hoping for the Red Sox to win. It would have been the Red Sox and the Braves in the World Series. And Joe McCarthy sends out this old pitcher by the name of Denny Galehouse instead of using Mel Parnell. And the rest is history. They lost the playoff game to the Indians, and then the Indians beat the Braves in 6 games. And we suffered through. Then it was 21 years, and it was until 67, the miracle years. But I moved in June of that year. I moved to California. So that's 51 years ago. And of course they won the pennant, and they lost to the Cardinals in 7 games. In 75 they lost in 70 games. In 86 they lost in 70 games. And I just thought, well, this is never going to happen. And in 2004, when they were down 3 games to love to the Yankees, and they came back and won and beat the Yankees, and then took the Cardinals in 4 straight, it was unbelievable. It was just unreal. Greatest.
Well, you could probably argue that was the greatest 2 weeks in Red Sox history.
Absolutely. As good as the team was this year, that team was special. That team was the team that did it.
Because they were first, and they were losing 3-0 to the Yankees.
3 games to love. Yeah,
and nobody ever comes back from 3 games.
No, not. And they got pounded. You remember 19-8?
I do remember.
The Yankees crushed them. And
I know. I had the opportunity to do a book with Johnny Damon at the end of the season.
Oh, fantastic!
He was
in essence, that was your update on the Red Sox, because we asked each other. Jerry and I wondered if you ever had a revised.
Yeah, I actually do, called Red Sox Nation, which is a revision of Fenway. Yes, after the 2004 season, I did a book called Red Sox Nation, which was an update of the Fenway book. Yeah.
In addition to
Idiot, which I did with Johnny Damon.
Yeah, the Idiots. Well, Johnny Damon, Johnny Damon left the Red Sox. They had turmoil with Theo Epstein, I guess, and
well, it wasn't that. It wasn't that, because we were a New York Times bestseller. And then somewhere in December, Johnny Damon leaves the Red Sox, signs with the Yankees. And we probably didn't sell 6 more books. So I said, Johnny, what are you doing to me? He says, I got to tell you, the Yankees offered me $12 million more than the Red Sox offered me. What was I to do? I said, Johnny, I completely understand. And that's what happened.
I would have signed too.
Yes, exactly right.
A baseball player, their career could be over in an instant. They could break a leg. They could, all kinds of things can happen to them. Their pitchers, their arms fall off. Their whatever.
Sure. So it was interesting because at that point, Johnny probably could have run for governor of Massachusetts and won.
Yeah.
But, he said if the difference was, maybe $1 million or $2 million, then I would have thought hard and long about staying with the Red Sox. But for an extra $12 million, they're I've got a family to feed.
He's not the first to have done that. I mean,
no.
Boggs, for instance, came over.
But
Ellie Howard finished his career with the Red Sox. There's a lot of things.
But there was a difference with Boggs. When he came back to play in Fenway, he got a nice reception. When Johnny Damon came back the first time, he was booed lustily. They really gave him a hard time.
Well, they felt he was a traitor.
Yeah.
Well, and he was in a way, he was a traitor. I mean, the Yankees were doing Ellie Howard a favor by trading him to the Red Sox. The Red Sox at the time needed Ellie desperately. They needed a veteran catcher, and Ellie was not going to play that role with the Yankees any longer. So they were helping Ellie out by trading him to the Red Sox, and he was wonderful. Ellie helped the Red Sox.
He won a pennant for them.
Sure. He absolutely did. That's right.
And we've talked about this, Peter. I think you'll agree that if I remember, you agreed he would have made a great Yankee manager.
Well, his wife wrote this really, really wonderful book. And the last line of the book was, "Baseball killed my husband."
Really?
Because there were several times when teams had the opportunity to sign Ellie Howard as the manager of the team. The Yankees had a couple of opportunities. The Red Sox had an opportunity, and nobody would do it. And I'm not sure why. It may have been because he was African American, because, back then there were very, very few African American managers, coaches, scouts, and so forth and so on. Ellie had an enlarged heart. He died very, very young.
Yeah, that was sad. That was really sad. I think he would have been a good manager because look how many catchers are doing the managing now. Bob Melvin with the A's, Bruce Bochy, Brad Osmus.
Ellie was a brilliant baseball mind. I don't think there was any question about that at all. But it was kind of interesting because he would have fit in much more with today's managing philosophies. Today you've got people like Kevin Cash of the Tampa Bay Rays, and they love Kevin Cash because not only is he into sabermetrics, but he's also into, patting the players on the back and giving them, positive reinforcement. And back then, when you had the Billy Martins and you had the Earl Weavers and the A's, Dick, what's his name? Those guys.
Dick Williams, right.
Dick Williams. These people were tough as nails. Ellie was not tough as nails. Ellie would have been a perfect sort of 2018 kind of a manager. He would have been great. But that wasn't necessarily what they were looking for back then.
Well, that's what they're saying about
He was so well respected. He was like Gil Hodges in a sense that no one would have. He wasn't tough as nails in one way, but I don't think a player would mess with him. He was the guy that broke up the fight between Billy Martin and
Reggie Jackson. No, that's absolutely true. Yeah, but understand, somebody's got to hire him, and they just weren't about to do that. That just wasn't going to happen. And according to Ellie's wife, it kind of broke his heart.
So, Peter, you brought up Kevin Cash, and he has to be a candidate for Manager of the Year.
He should probably come in second, would be my guess. My guess is that he'll come in second.
You think
I would have to think that Boston won how many games? Holy smokes, what they won. Was unbelievable.
108.
119 games. Well, before the voting, they had won 108, which was really something for a rookie manager. It's quite something. And it was clear to me that the Red Sox players loved the guy. He had a marvelous reputation when he was a player. They picked him out as somebody who was going to be a manager when he was playing.
Yeah, he was with the Red Sox in 2007. He won a World Championship ring with them.
That's right.
He was bench coach with Houston last year and won a ring, and now he's got his own ring as manager of the Red Sox.
That's exactly right.
You know what he did? He took the trophy to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
I thought that was such a class act, which few and far between in any sports. That's because money rules all. But,
well, not only that, but the Trump administration allowed Puerto Rico to die on the vine.
I'm glad you said it. Would have it been nice if they took 15,000 troops when Puerto Rico suffered that, and they could have rebuilt the frickin' thing.
Well, it would have been nice if they had sent them water and food.
Yeah.
And if they had a delivery, they said the water that they did send sat on tarmacs because nobody gave a damn.
No, well, I don't know. I'm of one of those people. I don't believe in conspiracy theories, but I do believe that whatever he was doing to punish the people of Puerto Rico because they were Puerto Ricans.
Well, they didn't vote for him either.
Well,
they probably didn't vote for him.
Well, we'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens. A lot of these people came to Florida, where I live, and we'll see what happens on Tuesday.
If you're listening out there as an audience, please vote. That's all we could ask at this point. I'm confident that there are more Democrats out there that if everybody votes, it'll be cool. Don't take it for granted. Don't rely on the polls to make you stay home or anything. Get out there and vote. That's the best we can do. And because things in all of our lifetimes, Jerry, you're a little older than Peter and I. You've never seen it this bad, I'm sure. We've talked.
No, I most presidents that come in want to make the country better. They want to make it better for everybody. Jobs, good paying jobs, have the economy solid, and they want to work together on both sides of the aisle to solve problems. Go back into the 60s and see what Lyndon Johnson did. You know, Kennedy wanted to start it, but he never lived long enough. And we'll never have a time when we had a president like Kennedy. That was truly Camelot. And that all came to a crashing end. But Johnson picked it up civil rights, the Voting Rights Act, the war on poverty to uplift everybody. And Medicare came into being in 1965. All these things were from the Democratic side. The Republicans were never for Social Security, were never for Medicaid, they were never for Medicare. None of these programs. And so, they what they're selling now is what they're telling you that they're for is really the opposite of what they really want to do. They tell you they're for a middle class tax cut. Not going to happen. It's just to get some votes. They blame the Democrats for the caravan in Mexico, who are refugees in Mexico. The Democrats are not to blame for that. They
blame CNN News.
Well, the thing is,
how does that
scary,
come about?
How can anyone? We believe in a free press, the First Amendment. And
everybody but our president.
The other night, Bill Maher had on one of his guests was Romero from the ACLU.
Yep.
He was talking about when the neo-Nazis wanted to speak in Skokie, Illinois a few years ago. They supported that, and because we may not want to hear what they have to say, but they have the right to say it.
Free speech.
And Trump wants to suppress that. When he uses terms like enemies of the people, and he points to the press at the back of the room and saying fake news, they're reporting what they're seeing. They have a right to report it, and they have a right to express their opinion. And if he doesn't like it, too bad, but that's their right. And
yes, but unfortunately, with
the lies, 6,000 lies since he's been president.
Yeah, but that talk is making an impression upon his followers who believe what he's saying. It's awful.
It's very scary, and there's an old adage that people vote with their pocketbook. If they're working and happy, they're not going to rock the boat. And that scares me.
Yeah. Last
we've already lost the big war. The big war was Kavanaugh.
Oh, yeah.
Supreme Court Justice. We're fucked from that. Excuse my French. Or not. It's horrible.
You're right. And what he did to Christine Ford, she was totally believable. And then
of course she was.
We believed her.
And then 2 days later, he comes out. He says, "Well, I got to say she's believable." Boom, boom, boom. 2 days later, he says, "I only said it so we could win. We won."
Yeah.
And screw her. The man has no human compassion or empathy, and I can't believe that it's come to this for this country. We got to get the vote out. That's the only thing that's keeping me going.
One thing, I'm going to just, the 11 people that died in Pittsburgh, and it was a tragedy. And Mar had on Barry Weiss, this young lady who writes for the New York Times.
Wasn't she wonderful?
She grew up. I was heartbroken listening to it. And today, in the Sunday Review, her column is in there, and I posted the column on Facebook. I know, Ralph, you saw the column. So it really was. But there was a picture in there of one of the congregants wearing a yarmulke, and on the back he had the Pittsburgh Pirates logo, the big yellow P with the yellow.
That's right.
He was a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. Yep. And it was really something. Baseball, growing up in Boston, baseball, we would go somewhere, and the first thing was, what the Sox do today? And I've discussed this with Marty Lurie out here and with Ralph. Baseball in New England, the Red Sox are like a religion. It really is.
It's not like a religion. It is a religion.
It is. They love
I teach a
course. There's no hokey doke.
No, I teach a course here at USF St. Pete, and the first class, baseball is a religion. Certainly.
Yeah.
It has rules. It has texts. It has songs that you sing. It has heroes, gods.
Yeah.
It had all those things. The only thing baseball doesn't do, that all the other religions do, is create strife. There's no strife in baseball. Baseball fans, get along.
Very well said.
Even the obnoxious Yankee fans.
There are no obnoxious Yankee fans. We're just fans that have won a tremendous number of World Series and pennants, and because the Red Sox fans are entirely jealous of the Yankee fans, there's this perception of Yankee fans being that way. But it's really not true. The problem is that the Red Sox fans, for most of their lives, are just jealous.
Well, that may be true for you, but
not just the Red Sox fans. How about the Mets fans? Mets fans who could have been Yankee fans had they not been Met fans, had they chosen. And you can't.
But there's a great divide between the American League and the National League. There's a great divide. No American League fan who I've ever known has ever wanted to be a Mets fan. And no Mets fan who I've ever known ever in their entire lives ever wanted to be a Yankees fan.
But it doesn't stop the fanaticism. The only thing different is when a Met fan asks what you hear about a Met score, and somebody says, well, they scored 16 runs. The retort is, did they win?
Well, that's the joy. That's the joy of being a Mets fan. Yeah, you wouldn't want it any different.
I know. After this year, especially, you got to put joy in parentheses.
No, but look, you've got a new general manager. You've got a new general manager now. You should be thrilled.
I wasn't thrilled that Chaim didn't get the job.
Well, I was thrilled that Chaim didn't get the job. Heavens.
I can imagine, but he
makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me that these people aren't hiring Chaim Bloom. He's a flat-out genius, this guy. And the fact that these teams didn't want him, tell me something about the quality of their ownership. And it's not good.
Well, the Wilpons have been under criticism.
But I will give the Wilpons a little credit. They hired a former player agent with the idea that he's going to know the terrain. Who's asking for what? Which teams want to compete now? Which teams want to compete later? I think it'll help him if they can disassociate him with 9 of the players on the Mets are his clients.
That's right.
So if he recluses himself, or if they have some sort of deal going, could work out. I give the Wilpons credit for thinking outside the box.
Not bad. Or it could be an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
Could also be a total disaster. Could.
Right.
Yeah, well, the Wilpons are taking a page out of the Golden State Warriors book. When the Warriors hired Myers to be the general manager, he had been an agent, and they've had great success winning 3 championships in the last 4 years. So I guess
interesting.
That could be a trend to hire an agent.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Has baseball ever done that?
What's that?
Not that I know of.
Hired a player agent as general manager.
That's a new one on me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they could have interviewed Scott Boras, but Boras is probably making too much money to give it up.
They probably could have given Boras $10 million. He'd have taken it, but
yeah,
remains to be seen.
Or a piece of the ownership, like Billy Beane has.
With the A's.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take $2 million. I'll work cheap.
Right.
Absolutely.
I'll take a bleacher ticket if somebody wants to offer me that. Meet them over at the ballpark. We'll have a flank at the ballpark. Mm-hmm. Hey, listen, guys, time is running out.
It has.
Thank you both, and congratulations to you both. When your team wins, there's nothing like it.
That's true.
It's wonderful. 4 times in 15 years. 4 times in 15
years. Here's to baseball, our religion.
You got it.
That's the truth. That's the truth. All right, take care, guys.
Thank you for listening,
Have a great
everyone.
Week. My pleasure.
Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, Golenbock University. Jerry Feitelberg was the guest. Peter was charming as usual. I'm Ralph Tycho, the weak link of it all. Be well.
Okay. Bye-bye, Ralph.
The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.